had you done any production of this magnitude prior to this? And like, where did you even start? Did you hire a production manager? Or are you just winging it? What, like, did you just start with a legal pad and start writing down what you needed? Like, what was your preparation process of, all right, I'm going to go record all this. Like, who's the first person you call? You know, I know Ghostbusters comes to mind when it says that, but like, do you call like, are you calling somebody of like, what do I need? Is it a list you're looking at online? Like, where do you start right there where you're, okay, I'm going. Not only am I going to risk my life and climb this mountain as a personal achievement, I'm now adding like all of these additional worries and these additional boxes to check by saying I'm turning this into a production. And like, there are bodies that you're going to pass along the way that did not want to turn their quest into a production and they didn't make it. And you're turning, like you're saying, I'm taking this to the next level. Where do you even start the thought process of the things you need? Are you already feeling confident and I have the equipment I need for myself physically? And of course, that's the bare minimum. And now you're worried about gear and what you need for the production. What's the idea there? As soon as you say, all right, I'm going, where do you even start?
Yeah, that's a very good question. The first things I leaned back on my previous film production stuff. I did dark comedy stuff and I did a lot of sketch stuff as well in the past. And so I was quite familiar with production. However, this was going to be a little bit different because you couldn't control the environment that you're going to shoot in. For example, you shoot a normal dramatized production, you can get cops, at $150 an hour to block off the streets for 8 hours and to film, in a location, or you can go to a sound stage and you can film green screen stuff. I knew this was going to be different because this is on location, real time, live documentary style of filmmaking in an uncontrollable environment. So I knew it was going to be completely different from any of the other productions I've done in the past. But I also knew that a lot of the things, came to bear that were similar, meaning, all right, how do we actually film the 2D stuff? How we're going to get the different POV shots, the trekking shots, setting up interviews, these kind of things. I knew how to do that. And I knew crew members that I was going to right away ask to go with me to say, all right, are you free essentially up to 2 months to go to Nepal and let's go film this thing, because it took 52 days to climb Everest. And I was in Nepal for 63 days because we also filmed 11 other days down in the Kathmandu Valley and other places, to get the whole story that's, compulsory of what Mount Everest is all about, and the environmental, religious significance and the economic significance and all the other stuff that you normally wouldn't see in an Everest piece for the 97-minute documentary. But when it came down to how we're going to film this one, I actually climb, and then how we're going to actually film this in VR as well, that was completely foreign. So there was, now it's time to all right, start leaning on some people that I knew that did VR stuff, that started, leaning on a lot of a research about, okay, how do we go about doing this in the VR element? And how do we go about, trying to film this under the most extreme, conditions imaginable on Mount Everest? Because again, it was only a one shot take scenario most of the time. Again, you couldn't take multiple takes, and like I said before, you couldn't stage the shots. So it was, you get what you get, and you also had to climb at the same time. So I almost said, all right, if I take on a war reporter style philosophy, meaning I'm there to achieve multiple goals, i.e., summit this mountain, hopefully, as a child had promised to myself, and B, to take the world along with me in the productions that we were filming. I can probably, disassociate myself to a large degree from the danger of what's going on around me on Everest while I'm from the climbing side of things, because I'm so hyper focused on trying to get footage, right? And I had two other cameramen as well, for example, from the climbing portion
Wow.
that were filming as well.
I did not know
Uh,
that.
yeah, and up to base camp, because we're filming the Kathmandu first, then we flew to Lukla, and then we did the 9-day trek to base camp. It takes 9 days just to get to base camp. We had 7 cameras running on all that, but some of my film crew had to get evacuated because of altitude sickness from base camp. And then after we filmed the interviews at base camp and a lot of B-roll and stuff, I sent the other guys back because they weren't going to go any higher on the mountain. Unfortunately, the biggest limiting factor in order to do a documentary or do a VR production as well on Mount Everest is be able to climb the mountain. So that, of course, eliminates 99% of the people out there that would like to pick up a camera and do
Yeah, exactly. 99.9999999, right?
it. Yeah, so I knew that, okay, from the mountain side of things, besides me filming VR and 2D POV and the stuff that I was going to do while I was climbing, how else can we get additional coverage? Well, my friend who was the expedition leader, Ryan Waters, who I went with his production company, his guiding company. I knew he was going to go try to go to the summit with me, so I made sure that he had a camera in hand, and then of course the head Sherpa mountain guide for the expedition, who became a brother from another mother father, as he calls me today. I knew he was going to try to get to the summit with me, so I made sure he had a camera as well. So therefore, we knew that we were at least going to have 3 2D cameras plus my virtual reality camera from the climbing elements above base camp. And like I said, below, from base camp on below, we had 7 2D cameras as well as the VR camera.